Welcome to the Freedom Seeker Show, where we bring people together to share their experiences in a raw and authentic way in support to us, to help us on our journey to living a joyful, free, and fun life. Today we're talking with Carla McWaid, founder of Live Now and Fantasy Cabin, and we are breaking down how she connected with her authentic self. Here we go. So thank you for doing this with me.
Oh, no problem.
I love that we get to hang out in my backyard, which is super cozy and relaxing. We're listening to the birds. You came in between some of your meetings to do this with me, which for those of you who don't know us, this is something very new to both of us, because we used to go into this rat race of chase, appointment after appointment, and we might have had some time on the weekend, if we've taken some of it, to breathe and relax, but usually I felt personally so exhausted on the weekends that I didn't even have time for something creative like this anymore, because I was just exhausted from my week. And so both of us, about 2 years ago, we started on this journey of transitioning our workspace a little bit and how we go about our day. And I've asked Carla to talk a little bit more with us on this today, on just the experience that you specifically and both of us had together in this realization and actualization of making our ideal life happen and transforming from this person or from this action-taking standpoint that we constantly, and I mean, you were one of those goal setters, like it had to be, and it had to be at a certain time, it had to be at a certain number. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the journey, where it began and where you are landed today on being able to enjoy a sunny afternoon with me.
Well,
and just chatting away.
That's a loaded question, because it all started when my mother popped me out, and that is a 45-year conversation, which would take much more time than what we have.
Yes.
But if I look back over the last 10 years of my life, which is where I woke up one morning and realized I wasn't myself. That the only time I felt me was when I was in my Jeep.
In your Jeep?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, and so what was in your Jeep that allowed you to be yourself?
Me.
Ah.
Only me. So that was the only time that I authentically felt not controlled by outside influences. Of course, when you're in traffic, but I don't suffer from road rage.
No.
So that's a problem when you're a happy, positive, fun-loving, playful person, and you realize that you don't know who you are. And then that journey of finding yourself has been very interesting, because I really, truly believe now it's not about finding yourself, it's about losing yourself. So it's
losing the adapted self, like losing
the automated
pieces. Yeah,
so you
losing the pieces.
Not being perfectly prepared for a meeting today, I would feel, would give you more of an insight on authentically who you are.
Yes. And
your hooks and what makes you feel out of sorts.
Yes.
Because when we're in a box and we're comfortable, authentically, I don't think we're listening.
Yes. Well, no, we don't have space to listen, because we're so worried about the next step that we can't be in the moment, I feel.
Yeah. That's why it took Derek and I a year to come up with our business name, Live Now.
Yeah.
And we already had it written on a piece of paper 6 months prior in the middle with a big circle around it.
Yeah.
We didn't see it. We didn't.
Oh, so when you were brainstorming names, you had it written down.
Yeah, I decluttered and I found the piece of paper. I'm like, my God, we had the name 6 months ago.
That's interesting that you say that, because I actually I have this big binder where I save all of my notes from all the programs and courses we take together.
Yeah.
And in there I came across a piece of paper where I actually wrote out, it was one of those big questions, what do you want to do with your life when you grow up kind of thing. And I wrote in there exactly what my mission statement is today, which is to live an authentic life, to wake up in the morning and not have to rush to somewhere, to be able to avoid the traffic when I don't want to necessarily be sitting in traffic, to have relationships like this where we can hang out and contemplate life and just make our life better, write a book. I had this whole vision and I wrote it down, and that was like two some years ago, right? So it's interesting that you say that you wrote the same thing down about your business name, and
we had it. Yeah.
Being part of that journey with you, I do remember it was so hard for you to not come up with the name right then and there.
I just wanted it now.
Yeah, you did.
Like, give it to me now. And I'm in the same spot right now with my logo, and I just have to be like,
So what do you do differently now than that you are not like that you're able to separate that from instantaneous results to bringing yourself to that space of I trust and I have patience?
Well, I guess I have a measure. Just like you're saying, you want to have an authentic life where you connect on a daily basis and you have that freedom. And for us, or for me, it's about igniting real connections through fun, playful experiences. So like me and you doing our push-ups earlier, that was playful. And it was an experience that I'm going to share now with people. And so if I look at it, okay, well, am I making the search for finding the logo fun and playful? And am I actually really connecting with the people?
Yeah.
So if the answer to that is no, then I'm not being authentic. If the answer to that is yes, then I am. And so it's like in whatever we do, is it authentically you? And do you even know where to look? And that's the thing. And I think when we get outside of the norm and we're uncomfortable, then we know where to look. And I really honestly think control is a huge part of it.
Okay. Elaborate on that then.
So we want to control the setting. We want to control who sees it. We want to control how beautiful it looks, how perfect our picture goes. What if our dress? We want to control, think about that. Nobody wants to be controlled, and nobody wants to see as a controller or see as bossy. But think about all the things that we do to control. Tons. Tons and tons and tons. So the moment you don't give the people in your life enough space, that's control. The moment you have codependency or you don't trust, like I could bring up any single word and I could show you a form of control in it. So I often will say, embrace the mystery and release the control. Because how are you going to fully experience what you need to experience if you're having a preconceived idea, a preconceived thought, or a limiting belief gets in the way? And that's control. Wesley and I, on our way home, or on our way into town this morning, I said, Wesley, how do you know as a 17-year-old you're authentically following you, who you are? What's your measure?
What did he say?
Well, it was interesting. He said that if he felt that if he could explain what he was doing and why, then it was authentic.
Wow. Let me just think on that for a second, because yeah, that makes total sense. If you can explain why you're doing it,
even if it's wrong, doesn't matter.
Yeah, but if you can explain why you're doing it, and what was the other one?
And why?
And why?
So he said, if I can explain to you and tell you why I'm doing it, and I know why I'm doing it, then it's me.
Yeah.
And then he went into how he's going to teach his brother to be that way, which we had a big conversation around that, because as we grow and we learn and we see the areas that we really actually do try to control, or where we allow others to control us. Or we think that we do. The moment we say, you made me feel this way, we're trying to control that person.
Yeah.
It's setting your ego aside.
Yeah.
Really. And that's difficult, because a lot of us are on a mission, and that was Ecuador, where I was on a mission not to find myself, because I but to get some answers.
Mm-hmm.
I think more to trust myself. And I had to actually really lose myself in order to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every moment the authentic you shifts and changes. So what served you today may not serve you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Hence why mindfulness and living in the moment is so important.
Yeah.
So that we can listen to what it is we need at any given moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still fascinated because seeing just the intense transformation that I've watched in you, and the way I described it before is it's not surprising. Like, it's not like you're a completely different person to me. You are even more Carla than I've ever, like, I've always known this to be true of you, but I noticed the transformation. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's like there's no surprises here. It's not like I'm looking at a different person, but it's like I've always known you that way, but I haven't known you that way.
So a few people have said this, and so I'll maybe this will hit home. It's like I was the storm before, and now I'm the calm.
Yeah.
So most people are like, the storm before the calm.
Yeah.
So the people who were resonating with the authentic Carla, that saw authentic Carla, were telling me, showing me, saying it, and I wasn't hearing them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were connecting with that Carla.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And until I connected with that Carla, I couldn't be authentically more of that.
Right.
Naturally.
Right. So you surrounded yourself with people then that brought that out in you? Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
Okay, so how did you get to that point of connecting with your authentic self?
It was through the illusion of control. So really it was
Okay, so how did we, like, we need to backpack just a little bit more, because I get that a big part of it was Ecuador, huge part of it, actually. I think that was kind of the conclusion of it.
It was the conclusion, yeah, but there were a lot of steps before Ecuador.
Exactly, yeah. And so, like, backtracking on our journey together, and there's a big piece of it that you did on your own. So, backpacking, as far as I can see, we always known that there was more that we wanted. There was always this fire in us that just said there is more, like, that this isn't it. And so we looked in different places. And then we started doing some programs to help us maybe find a little bit more of our voice and our message, or guide us into some of the questions. But then what happened? Because I feel like that's where we kind of went separate ways.
Yeah. I think for me, when I got into coaching and I started meeting with clients on one-on-one, a lot of the basics came back when I used to teach children.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is about the inner child, the playful part of you that doesn't judge, get embarrassed. It's the fun, playful part that people are like, I was thinking about this. My daughter is getting married, and I would often embarrass her in public. And it would be the inner child of Carla that would embarrass her. And that's through, judgment or a limiting belief that you can't do that, or that's not fun, or that's not playful. And so I started seeing on a one-on-one basis when I was coaching that it was really only when I awoken that inner child in that person could they actually see the roadblock that was stopping them from the finances, the career, the family, whatever it was that they couldn't manifest in their life. It's almost like they weren't bringing their inner child along with them. And so for me, when I looked back on when are people seeing me authentic, it was when my inner child was doing the talking. And that was a stepping stone last year, big for me, especially when we went to Burning Man. Because Burning Man, for both Derek and I, because we're both super playful. We're really playful. We love to have fun. when we went to Burning Man, and we had 80,000 people around us that weren't judging us for being the playful, fun people that we were.
Yeah.
Where we find before that, our friends actually shield us from different groups of their friends. And so we've had this conversation lots where I wonder why they've never introduced us to those people, or I wonder why we've never met those people. And I guess other than asking the people that you know why, if they can actually really come to the table with an authentic answer and say, well, sometimes you guys act really silly and put funny costumes on, and we don't want to be embarrassed in front of our rich friends or our friends that work for some big oil company, or we don't want you guys to affect our reputation.
Yeah.
And so
they didn't want that side of themselves exposed to their work environment or their career, or like having those different masks on.
Because
right?
Because Derek and I don't wear masks.
Yeah.
If we do, that's I think why we have so much fun with costumes, because during our everyday life we're not in costume. So it's fun for us to put on costumes. Where there's so many masks out there that I believe they're like, well, we can't really tell Derek and Carla to not say this and not say that and not say this and not say that because that sounds silly. So we just won't invite them to that barbecue. And so we've had to, we've lost some friends over it.
Yeah.
And we've done some sandbox cleaning because we want to be friends with real, authentic people.
Yeah.
But that's been a rewarding walk as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of steps that have led up to, in the last 10 years, falling in love with myself again, allowing my daughter to hate me authentically and then come full circle, allowing the space for the people around you to be themselves.
Yes.
Gives you the space to be yourself.
And I feel, speaking as a friend of yours, that's always the space I found myself the most in with you, was just being myself, being able to be myself. Like, whether it was when we used to backpack and, just be with nature and have some real talks, or whether it was when we were hanging out in work environments. You've always, I don't want to use the word challenge, but because I can't think of a different word right now, but you've always challenged me to bring out the Yvonne that you know to be, that that you've met, and at all times, and not have these different personalities at different times whenever it needed to be. And both of us used to work in a very masculine environment, and you still do. I am less right at the moment, but you still do. So I feel like that was an extra challenge for me personally. I can't speak for you, but for me personally, that was an extra challenge to add on to it, to that mask that I would put on when I put my suit on. I always say when I put my suit on, it's when I would go and put a different persona around me. And I'm noticing what you said about friends and such. There are certainly a few people that are right now like doing a double take and going, who
is this girl?
Whoa.
But the cool thing is now they can make a decision whether or not they want to hang out with authentic Yvonne. And if they decide they want to hang out with authentic Yvonne, then the experiences you'll be having, they're going to be more fun, they're going to be more memorable, they're going to be more playful, they're going to create growth, they're going to get you outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because really, when you think about it, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're not okay, it's not about the other people.
No.
Never. You cannot control other people and circumstances. Control is an illusion that stops growth. So sometimes it's good to, if we were gone down to 17th Avenue and tried to find somebody to do push-ups with us and got outside of our comfort zone and said, hey, let's do this here or whatever. And it was like, okay, well, now I'm really uncomfortable.
No, I'm not. And I can prove it because your birthday, you challenged us to do that.
Yes, I did.
On your birthday. She had us, this is years ago. This was,
my 40th.
Your 40th. Yeah. She challenged us to, because Carla was never about just an ordinary party. it had to be fun
Weird,
and playful.
fun, playful, whatever.
So we dressed up in our favorite characters, and we walked around downtown Stephen Avenue.
Doing crazy things.
And challenging strangers to do crazy things with us. And we got points for the craziness and for just asking. But I remember, and this is a great measurement of how far I've come in my authentic journey, how so much not weird I find that anymore. Whereas I remember that birthday very, very well. And it was so hard for me. But, it's practice, I think, too, because I feel, depending however old that we are, we've spent the majority of that life adapting to what other people thought we should be, or what we thought of ourselves we should be, by measuring ourselves to other standards or other people, and to break that down, which is why I love your idea of not finding but losing you're losing yourself, right?
That's what Intuitive Tuesdays are going to be about. Yeah. So I'm throwing a new spin to some of my coaching, where you're going to, get out of your comfort zone, get out of your shell, get out of who you are. Whether it's dancing, whether it's meditating, whether it's painting, whether it's, I don't know what it will be that you're doing, but it will be something that, unless you're uncomfortable, it's hard to see what's going on.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And the comfortable can be kind and gentle. It doesn't have to be, I'm not saying it has to be painful.
Oh, let's talk about that. That is a great topic, because you said about a year ago, I want to say, you said you made this thing with yourself where you said
2 months ago.
That was it? 2 months ago? Oh,
2
it
months
felt like
ago.
it was like a year ago.
Oh, actually,
okay, wow.
it would be exactly 9 weeks ago. I know the day, I know the time.
And you said?
I said all of my lessons in life from this point forward are going to be gentle, kind, and full of sparkles.
Right. Because they don't need to hurt. Lessons don't need to hurt. They don't need to be, but they need to be uncomfortable.
Yes, uncomfortable in a way that, like, I was uncomfortable this weekend at a certain point in time. And I stepped back and I looked at the scenario and said, what is the teaching opportunity that I see? And when I saw that it was connecting on a more authentic level with the people I love, well, that's pretty gentle. Okay, Carla, what are you going to do to cultivate that?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to feed my soul. So I went in the backyard and I set up, because it was a new moon, and I love to dance. And I haven't been dancing very much. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to dance. So I set up a circle with some of my healing crystals. I set up a crystal in all the 4 directions. And I put on some beats that really speak to my soul. And I just started to move. And the cool thing that I saw was like the shadow of a really tall Carla dancing. And I started watching. So now I'm outside my head, because I'm watching the shadow. And I'm making these movements. I'm not judging how my body's going. And I'm like, wow, that's soul dancing. And it's just doing something outside of the norm, something outside of the box. And it just came to me, Carla, you love to dance. You taught fitness classes for 20 years. You need to show ladies how to authentically move their bodies. This is a gift you have. Why aren't you using it? And I went, well, I'm going to write that down. Thank you, Tribal Circle.
Yes, and you can incorporate that in
many ways.
In many different ways. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This kind of leads me to the conversation of creative space, because this is also something I've observed in your transition journey lately, is the Carla I used to know 10 years ago, you were very by the book, and the rebel in you would come out when we were in our private life, like, you know, that's when I would see that rebellious you. But when it came to your work life, you were very much by the book, prim and proper, like always following the rules. And even when I observed you studying, like, it was very much like you wanted to get it down to every detail. Like, you were very, very detail oriented, and you still are. I'm not saying you're not, but what I have noticed is, in all these years that I've known you, I never knew how creative you were and how crafty you were. And I don't know if it was you who actually said to me at one point in time, I don't craft, or I don't, like, I'm not a crafty person, but crafting is something that's always been a big part of my life, but I have suppressed it as well over the years. But it certainly was something I would have never thought of, you know, calling Carla for craft after Sunday afternoon to do some bracelets or something. And yet here you are, you know, completely spinning my head with all these different craft projects you come up, and and just this creative space. So I've read recently that in order for creative space to enter your world, you need to be present, you need to be mindful, and like, almost like, it's just, well, a meditative type of state, you know, you just need to be calm and be able to allow the creativity to come in. And is that what happened to you?
Kinda.
Yeah.
How do I put this? When my dad passed away, there were some traits in my dad that were just incredible. And I was sitting down one day, and I was thinking about the girlfriends in my life and why they're in my life. Because I typically actually am not friends with girls, typically. I actually relate more to the masculine side than I do the feminine side. And for some reason, this time in my life, I have the most girlfriends I've ever had, which has been amazing. And they seem like real, authentic. They tell me what's going on. And it's kind of the first time. So I had this idea, well, I should get them all a bracelet and write them a letter and tell them about the traits. So it's like a tribe. I was like, I got this little pack of friends. They're amazing, but I've really told them what I really appreciate about them. And so I decided to do this as a healing process after my dad's death. And I thought, you know, Carla being, you know, get this done, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get it done in an hour, I'm going to write 6 letters,
That's
get
the
out
Carla
the bracelets, I've got all the things, got everything there, the table's full of stuff, I'm just get this done and over with. Well, this process took me a month. Because I started
let's
writing...
just say what it was. This was on 8 girls?
There's 7 total.
7 girls.
Well, actually, there's 8 now because I wrote one after.
Okay, so 8 girls that you wrote a personal letter to.
Correct.
With your personal message of gratefulness, of, you know, why they're in your life, why you're grateful for them, and then you went even beyond that, and you bought each of them a bracelet to.
In fact, Yvonne's not wearing hers because if she would have got a purple one.
She got each of the girls a bracelet, and that in itself was so thoughtful, because you put so much thought into what colors they would like, and what like the sparkleness and the bead, like not all the beads are the same for each girl, so it was just very thoughtful. But it does not surprise me in the least that you thought you could get that done in like an hour.
Oh yeah,
because that's how you used
for an
to
afternoon.
work.
Yeah, and I was going to do other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you were like,
but as I started writing the first letter, and the tears were streaming down my face, and I couldn't even finish the first letter that day.
Yeah,
I set it all aside, and I actually let it sit for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I laid in bed thinking at night, well, what am I going to say in that letter? What do I want to get across? It was the first time I authentically was looking down inside what needed to go onto the paper instead of what I wanted to put on the paper. Need and wants.
Yeah.
We all want things, but do we really listen to what we need? Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because again, I was listening to an audiobook today where by Danielle Laporte, and she was talking about that very same thing with regards to desire and goal setting, where she really emphasizes on finding the feeling to go with that goal rather than just setting the goal in itself, because it's an inward journey, not an outward journey.
Absolutely.
Right?
I coach gymnasts, and that's exactly how is this move going to feel when you complete it. And that's why I have difficult transitioning that into some of the new things that I do, snowboarding, because when it's not automated and you're not paying attention, because a lot of people suppress their feelings.
Oh, of course.
And even when you're uncomfortable or somebody's uncomfortable, what I've started to say is, allow me to have this feeling. Allow me to have my tears. Allow the space for this to be, because right now it's not about you. It's about me, and I need to have these tears right now, and I need to feel uncomfortable right now to move on to the next stage. So hence, I didn't finish. The bracelets were very expensive, and I thought, my God, every time I have a friend and I fall in love with her and something about her, and I said, how awesome would it be if I made an authentic bracelet?
Yes. With
authentic beads, and I learned how to do that. So that's where I thought, well, why can't I do that? Yeah, you have one of those as well. So that's really cool. And so when I do Intuitive Tuesdays as well, I've done some healing sessions, some coaching sessions. We've used some stones, and then I've made a bracelet out of that, so that particular item has an authentic meaning to that person. So it brings them back to that space where they need to be authentic.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you could give one stepping stone towards that, just listening more to your intuitive self, what would you say?
I know exactly what it is. Pay attention to when you're not okay. Because that's a teaching moment. Because when everything's fine and okay, nothing's being learned. That's automated. The moment you're not okay, the moment your breath changes, the moment your gut feels weird, the moment you think somebody's out to get you, the moment you have an agenda, the moment an expectation isn't, it's the moment you're not okay.
Right. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And I get you on that. Where I'm still stuck there is the reaction that I always had to that moment, right? Yeah. So how did you move past that? So for example, let's say I'm highly uncomfortable when a person brings up a topic.
Getting naked. Let's just
highly
go
uncomfortable
there.
with
let's
this.
Let's just go there.
Highly uncomfortable with this topic, but let's say you bring up getting naked, and I'm uncomfortable with that, and let's even take this further. Let's say it's with Derek. Derek is in the room and having this conversation with us, because
now you've got a man and a female
between you and I. It's it's certainly something I feel I've overcome.
For sure,
to be able to even talk about it.
Yeah.
But when Derek comes into the room, it's still certainly a conversation that I'm very uncomfortable. I'd rather avoid it. I'll probably switch topics. That's usually what my go-to is, or I laugh it off. I've noticed about myself is I laugh off stuff that I'm not quite sure how to respond. I know that it's not.
So you know when you're not okay.
Yes.
So that's amazing, because a lot of people don't even know that.
So that was the example I was trying to make. Is okay. So most of us are even out of touch of knowing when we're not okay. Yeah. And so it's quite the journey backwards, which I know with practice gets easier and easier. But what did you do? Because I know there were lots of uncomfortable moments for you in the past as well.
A lot.
So what did you do, if you can recall it, between, okay, Carla is not comfortable right now at all. She's turtling, meaning like you would retract, you would recede, you would like shut everyone out, or you would run like a bat out of hell, because that's the athlete in you.
Yeah.
And what did you do to like leap over that now? Obviously, it's still, the moment still happens. You still feel uncomfortable. You still want to resort to what it is you want to do. Yeah. But then how do you...
So the easiest way for me to explain this would be one of my triggers. Okay. So tone is one of my triggers. So if we're in this interview and all of a sudden you started using a really weird tone with me, that would be a trigger.
Yeah.
Did I do something? Do I look funny? So I see tone as a judgment, or as you're not good enough, or you need to change something. So always saw tone as a projection on something I should change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
I can relate to that.
Really, tone has nothing to do with it. If somebody changes their tone, that is their problem.
Yeah.
But
how
in
did
order
you get
for
there?
you to deal with that,
Yeah.
you have to face the moment. You cannot run from it.
Yeah.
You cannot hide.
Yeah.
You have to ask.
Ah.
So here would be, Yvonne, we're having this interview, and I've noticed that your tone has changed.
Yeah.
What has changed in this meeting that we're having that affected your tone?
Has it changed? Are you asking legitimately?
It has now.
Well, now that I'm worried about about your well-being, the only thing that could have changed is I'm sweating like crazy. I'm definitely becoming uncomfortable in this.
I know. I'm like,
so wonderful.
I wonder how my sweaty armpits.
How we're holding up. I know we're both
melting. Like seriously, I'm thinking our skin is gonna look the color of our shirt and our dress tomorrow. So if she were to interview me tomorrow, I'm gonna be sunburned. We're gonna be sunburned.
Oh my God!
We should have put some sunblock on. But yeah, so it's really, so in other words, let's say Derek walks into the room and he's like, is this an opportune time to take my pants off? Like that would be something Derek might say.
Yeah, yeah.
And Yvonne would go, well,
yes.
Oh my God. I'm in his house. I can't really tell him no. I want to get out of here. Call this my friend, or will he judge me? Blah, blah, blah. I can hear the internal thoughts.
Yeah,
yeah. But here speaking truth would be, Derek, I'm really uncomfortable right now. Why are you wanting to take your pants off?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm just going to go out to the hot tub and I'm going to go get in the hot tub. So I'm not going to be in the room very long. So now she can deal with reality. Can I handle him taking off and going off into the hot tub? Or maybe he wants to dance around and she's like, well, you know what? I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So it's really speaking your truth with the people, and the people who love you will listen to your truth.
Yeah.
And the people who don't, well.
Yeah. And
weed
you'll
them
know,
out.
and you'll know exactly. You'll know, right?
Yeah.
You'll know, and
Speak your truth.
That's true, because I know I have had an experience where I did, and you know how hard this was for me to like actually say what it is that I want to say when it's uncomfortable or when it's, maybe negative, could be perceived as negative. But I have experienced that where it was bothering me so much that something had shifted in the relationship, that I went up to her and I said, I have to ask, like, has something changed in our relationship? Has something happened? Did I do something? Like, I immediately obviously reflected
for reality
on,
to come out.
But unfortunately, she wasn't honest. She couldn't respond the way she probably wanted to, but that's okay. It's, you know when people are not coming back to you.
But that's
honestly.
A really important point, because unless you have trust and a bridge for them to safely communicate truth.
Yeah.
Most people, when a woman comes out of a change room and says, do I look nice in this dress? Will say yes. Rather than saying, oh my God, you look huge in that dress. Take it off. Which, that's not a good thing either. So we can either give we can give kindness with no truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we can give no kindness and truth.
Yeah.
Right? So we got people in our lives like, oh my God, that looks awful.
Or we can give
kindness with truth. The dress you had on at the store before looked better than that dress.
Yeah, and even though I know exactly what that means about this dress, I can't help but love you for just giving me honest opinion on it.
And that's what we want to create, a fun, playful, for all families across.
And you know what, that is great. And I think it does come down to teaching moments. So with my coach right now, this is what we're playing, because it's not the awareness piece so much anymore. I seem to be quickly getting to the awareness piece, but what we're playing with is, how do you now communicate
and express it? How do you express authentic Yvonne without those words? So do you want to know what I do in the mornings?
Yes, please do.
I'll tell you what I do. So during my morning ritual, I put a protective energy around authentic Carla, so that things can't permeate through. I don't want to pick up more limiting beliefs. I don't want to pick up negative energy.
Oh, that's a wonderful
So I embrace
practice.
authentic Carla, and I protect authentic Carla from the outside that doesn't have they're not dancing in the light with me. They're wanting to put the light out. And you know who those people are. You know when you see them on your phone. You know who sucks your energy and who doesn't. You know who lifts you up and wants you to be successful. You know who gets jealous when you're successful, and you know who steals your energy.
So I didn't want to go there necessarily, but
okay.
But because it came up 3 times in this conversation. So would you suggest, or what did you find was a good way for you to just kind of leave those people in the past and not bring them into the present with you?
Well, I challenged them. So for me, also being a confident, authentic woman, it was like I couldn't just not ignore them and not have them in my life. So what I just started doing was challenging them when they weren't authentically, being my friend. Like, the way we're talking right now is not okay with me. It's not okay. Why are you treating me this way? So I would actually, and I've done that with our kids. And right away, like I did that with Wesley when we were at Valley Village. Like, what you're doing right now is not okay with me. Like, you are not providing me the space to be me. And so the people who love you want to understand what they're doing, and then your relationship grows. The people who don't get it, so the friend that I said the text you sent me right now was really rude and not very nice, and she's never talked to me since. Well, there you go. I guess I don't. And that was a person I was friends with for 12 years. And went through some really tough times. Know when to take, but know when to give.
So, going back to your example with Wesley, like, obviously he's been in your life for a long time now, and you had let him treat you this way or talk to you this way in the past. So have you found a lot of resistance from the other person going, what was this just about? Or was it actually surprisingly welcoming?
It's crazy. It's because people want authentic relationships, and they want to be loved, and they want to know that they're real. So when you go to, like, yesterday, I gave him a huge hug, and I said, like, why are you being so bossy to me right now? Like, what is going on with you, boy? But what am I doing? I'm holding him, I'm hugging him, I'm bringing him into, I'm giving him a big hug. I'm
building that bridge.
I'm like, what's up with you, buddy? So I'm giving him a safe place to say his words. The moment somebody tells you something and there's a consequence, that's then they'll never. You've put a troll under that bridge. How many trolls do you have under your bridge?
That, and I find if you are waiting until the fuse blows and then you say whatever you need to say, but then it comes out in anger or in with a tone, then there's no safe place. So I love your concept around creating that safe place for the other person to just authentically express what's going on with them. My coach, going back to her again too, she said to ask, what's this about?
Ask. That's the word, ask.
What's this about? Because that allows the other person the opportunity to tap into their own feelings and perhaps even, like, is that pattern interrupt to say, what's this about? So that they can actually go, what is this about?
It works great for couples because most of the time it's a symptom when couples are like, and it's not the root.
No, that's true.
It's not the root. So
I feel that's like, true.
What, like, why are we talking to each other this way? Like, what is going on right now?
What's this about? What's this really about? Very interesting. I'm melting.
So a really great start on being authentic. Like, there's about 10 things we could talk even more things
so many.
about.
And I hope you will come back and we'll do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not like the hottest hour of the day.
Well, no, it's, it's good. It's like we're out of our comfort zone. It's like we're sweating.
We could also look at this as
girls
our
don't sweat. Yes, they do. They do sweat. My God, we sweat.
our purifying hour of just letting out everything that needs to come out. But one of the things I love about our friendship is that we have always pushed each other to just be a little bit more out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently, but we've always done it knowing that we had each other's back.
Oh, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
And so I really appreciate that about you, and I love being part of your journey right now. I just love where it's going. I love what you're creating.
I feel the same way about you, girl.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And you know what?
Yeah.
This topic, there was a lot we talked about. I feel like I need you to say one more thing about that transition journey. Like, what one thing could you? So I asked you for one thing earlier. What one one other thing? If someone says, you know what, I'm not happy in my life. I'm not happy where I'm at. There are so many parts that need where you can start. Where would you start, or where would you say is a good place to start?
I know exactly the answer to that question because you're looking at a girl who's tried to meditate for 10 years and nothing's worked. Nothing. And nothing worked until I got rid of the clutter. So look around. Where do you have clutter?
Environmentally, you mean?
I don't care. Where do you have clutter? Clutter in your head, clutter in your thoughts, clutter in your drawers, clutter in your bedroom, clutter in your vehicle. Look everywhere.
Yeah.
And whatever space seems cluttered, that's where you start.
Okay.
So look at your spaces. What space is most important to you? What space are the people around you saying, clean that up? Oh my God, that's a pigsty. That's this, that's that, that's this. Clutter is a form of control. And I've just come to realize this actually because I had a big shift this weekend. The only space that I had cluttered before was my Jeep, and my Jeep was the only place I felt safe. But it was the only space I felt 100% in control. And I knew it annoyed somebody else when it was cluttered.
Right.
So that's a form of control.
Yes.
So now that I have, since we went to that course of this person that we're going to, was all amazing, all the thing. Yeah, she did an amazing, Chalene Johnson did an amazing thing for me.
Yeah.
She brought clutter to my mind, where it was not only cluttering up with need to do and this, and this, but she had me look at clutter. And so I've taken a year to declutter.
Yeah.
And we have one space left that we're finishing to declutter, where we're going to build amazing things for people. And it has been a real big part of the journey over the past year to declutter. So watch when you're not okay and start decluttering.
I love that. Those are really great messages. Both of them are. Yeah. Become more aware of what's going on and allow those feelings to be. Like, you know, that's the first part of awareness. And then declutter what needs decluttering. Carla McWaid, everyone. Thank you, Carla, for sharing yourself so authentically. In this episode, Carla shared her journey of reconnecting with her authentic self. And it starts with losing your illusion of control and reconnecting with your inner child, aka your essential self. We also chatted about speaking your truth with kindness, being aware when you're not okay, and making space in your life for mindfulness. And one way to do that is by decluttering. If you want to explore more about this topic or how you can start living a freedom life, go to www.yvonnewinkler.com or subscribe here. Until next time, keep on rockin'.